What's going on, my credit fiend? How do credit cards work is the question I've been asked. How does a credit card work? What do I do once I get one? Like, how does this whole process work? Well, look, I'm credit fiend, okay? I'm fiending for this credit, so I've been already know how credit cards work since I came out the womb. You know, no, I'm just kidding. But anyways, getting into this video, how do credit cards work? I'm gonna give you a brief overview on how credit cards work, and then I'm gonna give you an example based off of my own credit card, one of my credit cards that I have, just on how everything works, how to navigate the apps. It's pretty similar across the board. You should be able to find these same type of options no matter which credit card you're getting, unless it's probably like secured or something like that. Then your whole setup is completely different because they're only going to give you certain perks whenever you're doing that, like rewards and all those things. Some of those don't exist, and your credit limit, you set your credit limit. So at the end of the day, it's going to look a little bit different than here if you have a secured credit card, because they're not going to have credit card limit increase on there and all that other stuff. But let's get straight into this, and I'm going to show you guys my screen here. You can see that I have the Chase card pulled up that I just did in my last video. So go ahead and check out my last video if you are interested in all of the Chase cards. This card is also in my top 5 cards as well. I'm pretty sure it is. So go check out that if you want to know a little bit more about this card. But we're going to be going over exactly how credit cards work, how this one works in particular, and just give you a broad overview on everything and what you should be looking for, looking out for, and all that good stuff. So again, how do credit cards work? Credit cards work by charging you, the user, interest on your purchases. Therefore, if you go to the store and you use that card and you swipe it and you buy something, let's say, like on my screen, let's say it's $1,000. You buy something for $1,000, right? Just going off of the basics right now. You buy something off of $1,000, they're going to charge you interest. Now, depending on your credit score and a lot of other factors that are going on in the world, such as the Fed lowering or raising interest rates, the interest rate that you get, or APR, is going to look slightly different. Now, also, certain credit cards charge you by the day on interest. So like, pretty sure it's either Navy Federal or USAA. They told me that they were going to change their whole APR setup and they were going to start charging daily interest. Therefore, theirs works a little bit differently than what I'm going to tell you. And the way that's right here is how most credit cards work. So this one does not have the daily interest. Therefore, on this $1,000 balance right here, if I made that all in one go, then you would see here that my interest rate is 23.49%. Now, if I made a cash advance, meaning if I went to the ATM, or sometimes they calculate certain card payments as a cash advance, but this is specifically more so you're going to be using this at the ATM. If I went to the ATM and I use my PIN like as if it was a debit card, my interest rate is going to be 29.24% on that balance that I take out from the ATM, which they keep track of because you have to pay off. I'm pretty sure you have to pay off your full balance before that's going to go back to normal, not just whatever you took out the ATM. But they are going to keep track of and charge you. Let's say you took $500 at the ATM. They're going to keep charging you that 29.24% on that $500 if your balance is way over that. Now, if you start paying that off, then you start paying that off. But in order to completely wipe that out and not have that interest rate, pretty sure you have to pay off the complete entire card. So just be aware of that. There's certain ways to go around that. Like I do have a video on how to liquidate cards. I have 5 different ways on how to liquidate these credit cards and kind of get around that cash advance fee. But if you made that $1,000 purchase, your APR is going to be 23.49%. That's how much interest they're going to be charging you on the whole year. So if you made no payments, you can bet that all you have to do is multiply this number by that $1,000, and that's about $230 or so that you would be charged on the whole year if you made no type of payments or anything like that. Now, if you did make payments, I'll show you guys right over here in the credit card calculator. Let's say your balance was $1,100 and your interest rate was, 24%, right? We'll just say it's 24%. And you were only paying $30 a month because that's what the minimum is here. I think, unless it's $50, it might be 50. So let's just say your minimum is $50. And on that particular card, I pay the minimum on that because it's not really that high of a balance. But on other cards, you can pay more, like you know what I'm saying, you can pay more than the monthly minimum balance, and that's what you should be doing. That's maybe what I did here. I don't really know, but I just, you know, there's so many cards, it's hard to keep track of them sometimes. I just keep track of the bigger ones. And so if you paid $50 per month out of this balance and this interest rate, it would take you 2 years and 6 months to pay off the balance, and your total interest would be $363. Now, off of that $1,100 or $1,000, we can roughly say that's about 30 to 40% that you would be paying to borrow that money by paying the minimum every single month instead of just paying it off or paying more than the minimum. And it would take you about 2.5 years to pay that off, which it's not that bad if you don't really got it like that. I mean, to me, that's not really that bad. Some people, it might be that bad, but if you need access to money now, like if you're leveraging or, you know what I'm saying, you're doing something else, then that's a good way to go. Now let's go back over to the card and see exactly everything. I'm going to be explaining you how, if you just got this card or another card, what you should be looking at whenever you go into the app or their website. So right over here, you're going to have the last 4 of your card. This is going to be printed on your card. That way you know which account they're talking about. All right. Then you're going to have your current balance, and then you're going to have all of your activity. So you would see your previous statement balance, which whenever you make a payment, you have your payment date, your payment due date, and you have your statement date. Okay. Your statement date is what's going to post on your credit profile. Let's say that again. Your statement date, not your payment date, your statement date, whatever your balance is on that statement is going to be posted on your credit profile. So statement date is the most important because that's what's going to be posted there. And not only that, that also tells them how much interest to charge you. So if you make a payment on your payment date, you make another payment within that span of your payment and your statement, because your statement date comes after about maybe like a week or so after, then they know exactly how much to charge you interest. If you make another payment in between that date, your payment date and your statement date, then it'll be lowered for your statement date. So therefore, you can make payments, more additional payments after your payment date before your statement date if you want to go ahead and lower that down, or if your check's not coming in until a couple of days after, but you have enough for the minimum. If your balance was going to be higher than it was on the last statement, and you don't want that reporting over because it's looking like you're using more, then you can make sure you just pay it before your statement date. That's the most important thing there. So you would see my previous statement balance was 1108, and now it's 1068. The payments that I made and the purchases that I did on this card. I don't really use this card that often. And then you would see your payment due date. Like I said, March 14th, it's already past that now. So the next one's going to be April. And then you would see your minimum payment due if I had one due, but I don't this month because it's already passed anyways. Then you would have your remaining statement balance, which was right up here. And then I made that $10 charge as well. So you see that right there. Okay, you'll see your available credit, and that's going to be lowered. It's going to subtract from your overall credit limit. Now, if you click the more here, it looks like it's going to be a little bit different looking on the app than it is on the computer, but you can go ahead and click the details and you can see what the total credit limit is, but you'll know what your limit is because when they approve you, more than often or not, they're going to tell you exactly what you've been approved for, because that's the most exciting part, right? And then you would have your pending charges. Everybody knows about pending charges, things like that. Balance on your last statement, I already went over that. And when your payments are due. Now you can request a new payment date if that payment date does not work for you. I've never done that before, and I don't know if they can do that within that same month, or if they change it, or if you're changing it like let's say if I wanted this due, my payment, let's say it wasn't March 14th yet, and I wanted to move my payments to the 5th. I'm not sure if, you know what I'm saying, you have to make that 14th payment and then it changes over to the 5th. And maybe it's lower or something like that. I don't know. You can work something out with them. You can always call whoever your credit card is issued through, and most of the time they'll be willing to work with you on anything that happens. Because I had some things mixed up on my CFNA card. It was for Firestone, and they tried to say that I didn't make my payment on time, so they ended up lowering my limit and doing all this extra stuff, and it wasn't even my fault. I had made my payment and everything. And I called them and they just told me that once I made a couple more payments on time again, they'll increase my limit back again and we'll be all good. And they're not going to obviously report that late payment because it wasn't even like it wasn't even really late, which was the crazy part. If you scroll down, you're gonna have your recent payment activity, and then you're also gonna have your rewards. Now, depending on the card, you're gonna have different rewards, how they're set up, whether you're getting like 5% back on Amazon or anything like that. Like I said, I always have videos on this stuff, so go check out my videos, especially that 5% on everything video. This card is on there, get 5% back on Amazon. That's why I originally had gotten this card, which is actually really nice. And then you'll see the same thing we saw before. If we go back and you scroll down, you can see that you get the cashback offers on Chase, so you can see what your offers are. And now every card, most of the time, is gonna have some type of reward system. Not all of them do, because some of them offer you lower interest rates or APR over the rewards points, but it just depends on what you're looking for and what you're gonna get out of it, because sometimes you need that card that has a 0% interest rate for 15 months or 18 months or whatever the case is, or just a lower rate in general overall, especially if you're using that one card a lot more heavy than the others. Now, if you scroll down, you can see all the different types of offers that they have, and this is going to save you on your everyday purchases. Now you know that if you go to Sunoco instead of the other one, then you're going to get up to 5% back, okay? Also, National Tire and Battery, they gave you 10% cash back. I don't know if you can use that in addition to some of the coupons they have, like make a purchase there, and then you also get the 10% back on here. It could really cut you a deal. So just, you can scroll through them on whichever card that you have, and you can see what type of offers they have for you. Let's scroll down and let's see if we can find anything else for you guys to keep going on this video. If you scroll even more further down, all the apps are pretty much gonna have this. If you keep scrolling, you will see your transactions, and if you see something that you don't recognize, you can go ahead and click on that, and then you can report a problem. And this is going to give you that option to report this as fraud if you don't recognize that. And most of the time, they'll be more than happy to credit that back to your account while they get it figured out. So that way you're not in, because you're never responsible for a charge that is not authorized by you or wasn't made by you, or is just complete fraud, all right? They write that off as a loss. They're gonna eat that, so it doesn't even matter. That's why credit is so important, that you have this and that you use this instead of your debit card, because when you use your debit card, like in my credit versus debit video, your debit card that's cold hard cash. That's a lot harder for your bank to prove and go through than it is the credit, because again, these are just numbers on screen. They will also give you access to your free credit score. You just have to link your things up. Sometimes it's some external party that you're giving your information to, but I mean, if you have Credit Karma, you're probably getting mad stuff in the mail too. However, you can check those things, turn around on the back, and you can opt out for 5 years or permanently opt out. I opted out for 5 years. My report was showing that I was being blocked from all of those promotional offers, so do not send me none of those in the mail. I don't care what you're trying to offer me, because more often than not, it's just like some broad overview of a pre-qualification, which is only like 60-70% even entitled, or whatever you want to call that. You need to be pre-approved. I need y'all to send me some pre-approvals, okay? I'm trying to be 90% in there. Anyways, that's all I got for you guys. For the most part, all of these cards are going to follow the same things. Just remember your payment date versus your statement date. You're going to see that they're going to be at least about a week or so apart. Your payment due date is whenever you're supposed to make your payment. So please make sure that you make your payment on there and you're not just waiting for your statement date. And then your statement date is going to come after, and that's what's going to post onto your credit. Okay, always keep those credit cards under 30% utilization, meaning $300 out of every 1,000. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. We fiending for that credit. Also, if you guys got any questions or you need to get in the 6-figure club or anything like that, go ahead and drop down below.